All right, everybody. Hopefully you have watched the previous videos today on vocabulary and also World War II myths, because we are about to jump into World War II. Now, fair warning before I jump in. There is no possible way to cover World War II in middle school and be able to do all the details of World War II. So what we're going to have to do is an overview with me filling in some details, but there's going to be some parts that you would think about with World War II that will end up be missing, because first of all, this video would end up being an hour long if I tried to fill in everything from World War II. So in middle school we do the basics, and then in high school, now since you have the basics down, in high school you'll get into more of the detail about World War II. Okay? So just as a fair warning, this is going to be more of an outline of World War II. High school, you'll get more of the details, okay? Let's get started. So World War II. Now, even though this is the iconic picture from Iwo Jima, we're actually not going to be in the Pacific Theater. That's 7th grade. We are going to be focusing on World War II in the European theater. By the way, that's a term when you have fighting taking place in different areas. It's called a theater. So we're going to be in the European theater for World War II in 6th grade. All right. If you need to understand World War II, we're going to have to understand Adolf Hitler and his rise to power. Now, if you remember the Treaty of Versailles, the Treaty of Versailles made Germany very poor. It made them very impoverished, and in their desperation, they turned to Adolf Hitler, who promised to get them out of their poverty, to get them out of their humiliation, to build up their army and make the country respected all throughout Europe. Now, Adolf Hitler in 1920, Adolf Hitler became the leader of the National Socialist Party. Now, a lot of people don't know the name National Socialist Party. What they know is the abbreviation, which is Nazi. So if you're ever wondering, well, how people Nazis, where does that come from? Nazi is just the abbreviation or the nickname for the National Socialist Party. So Adolf Hitler became leader of the National Socialist Party. I also want you to think about it. In 1920, that's only 2 years after World War I ended. Adolf Hitler had been a soldier in World War I. He had fought in the Battle of Somme, which is in your notes from World War I. All right, the Nazis. Now again, there's a lot of things that happen in between Adolf Hitler becoming the leader of the National Socialist Party and him moving into a position of power. As I said before, we could take an hour just to do a video on World War II. So just know that from his becoming a leader and getting involved in the politics, he was very angry with Germany signing the Treaty of Versailles. He was very angry at what he felt was a betrayal of Germany by a lot of the leaders of Germany. Eventually, he's going to work his way into power, and his party, the Nazi Party, is going to win a plurality in the Bundestag. And by the way, I am talking faster. That way this video is hopefully a little bit shorter. So the Bundestag is the lower house of parliament. If you remember from your Germany notes, from the Germany video we did, the Bundestag is the lower house of parliament. It is also the most powerful house in parliament. So in 1933, Hitler is going to be named chancellor. So even though they won a plurality, that just means that they won without getting a majority, over 50% of the vote. But they had the largest percentage under 50. Now, if you think about it, if you have a percentage under 50, all the other political parties could unite to defeat you. But those parties that were opposed to the National Socialist Party could not unite. And so the most powerful party ended up being Hitler's party. He is made chancellor as a way to try to kind of keep peace, as the Nazis are being very violent in trying to enforce their belief system. When I say enforce their belief systems, let's put it this way. As they are gaining more support from the public, the groups, the fascist groups, the mobs that are kind of growing are being violent. So between that and also just some of the headbutting between different political parties, they tried to make Hitler chancellor in order to try to hopefully kind of calm things down. Well, of course, once you gave him the power of chancellor, which again, that would be the German equivalent of prime minister, once you gave Hitler that power, you never got it back. All right, so We need to look at Hitler's actions. One of the things that we talked about, sorry for coughing there, one of the things that we talked about a little bit earlier in my in-person class was that Adolf Hitler wrote an autobiography called Mein Kampf, meaning my struggle. And so if you look at some of the earlier videos, we talk about the fact no dictator wakes up overnight and just says, hey, here's all the things I'm going to do, or just decides overnight to murder millions of people. But he did blame the Jews. He definitely had anti-Semitic tendencies, and one of the things he did was to blame the Jews for the state of Germany. Not Germany getting involved in World War I through their alliance with Austria-Hungary, not some of the actions of the leaders of Germany after World War I and signing the Treaty of Versailles. Instead, he blamed the Jews. And also, it's very convenient to rally people to your side if you create a common enemy. And so that's what he did. Now, he didn't just do that. He wasn't just anti-Semitic. Once he got power, then there was a fire that happened in Germany in the Reichstag. All right, that's the parliament building. There's a fire that happened. He used that fire to blame kind of all of the groups that were enemies of the National Socialist Party. And so he's going to ban all political parties except his own. Now, you can't have a democracy if there's only one group that you're allowed to vote for. So he bans all political parties. He also, and this is called the Night of the Long Knives, he murders hundreds of his party members who he believes are not loyal to him, or who, maybe they're part of the National Socialist Party, but they're not willing to go so far as to, ban political parties or support a lot of violence or bloodshed. He purges all of those members out of his party by having them murdered. Citizenship is also going to be taken away from the Jews. Slowly but surely, laws are being passed that makes it so that you have to have, basically, Jews could only go to certain areas. They weren't allowed in certain places in the country. And then from there, Jews aren't allowed to own businesses. And then before you know it, the citizenship of anyone who's Jewish is taken away. And a lot of you guys, some of you guys may have read a book like Number of the Stars. Some of you have probably seen some movies where if you were Jewish in Nazi Germany, you had to wear a Star of David on your clothing to mark you out as a Jew. Right? That happened. That actually happened. So why am I going fast through these things? Because I want to get to them, but I also want us to go to this part. And if you need some more explanation, look at the video earlier that I did on myths. But this reason why we learn about history, because we don't want to repeat the past, but it also teaches us a little bit about character, right? So many Germans supported Hitler, when he first came to power. Now, a lot of students will ask me, okay, well, Mr. McGee, all right, they supported him, but why didn't they turn on him when all these things were happening? Okay. So this is a part that goes to character. Remember, what was Germany like after the Treaty of Versailles? They were poor. They were humiliated. If you were a parent, you're watching yourself and your kids starve to death. You can't get a job. Even if you do have a job, the money that you're making is worthless. It's of so little value. And you're humiliated. Everyone around Europe hates you because of World War I. Well, Hitler now comes to power, and he does keep his promise. A lot of students don't realize this. He did keep his promise. He did actually raise the economy of Germany. He did, because of his building up the economy of Germany, it provided jobs. The money did have more value in Germany. He did build up their armies. Now, here's where character comes into play. If all of a sudden you now have food on your plate and a roof over your head and a good job and you're making decent money, do you say anything when all of a sudden you look and now the leader has banned all political parties and he's murdering party members? He's taking away citizenship from the Jews. Do you say anything, or do you kind of keep your new life? Now, the answer is you should say something. You should fight back and stand up. But it's a lot easy to say. It's very easy to say that. It's a lot harder to actually have to do that. And so one of the things I talk to my in-person students is this. Those are decisions you have to think about before you're in the moment. So you have to think about, hey, you know what? This house that I'm living in, or hey, these nice clothes that I have, would I turn a blind eye to evil? Would I turn a blind eye to bad things that are happening if I could keep the cool clothes that I like? Or keep the social media status that I have? I'm putting into today's terms, if Mr. McGee could actually speak. Or what about my house? Would I be willing to stand up for what's right if I lose my house? Those are the things that you have to think about before you're actually in that position. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of Germans did not speak out. Now, if you watched my video earlier, there were Germans who spoke out. But I would say the majority, it's a lot easier to keep what you had. That's now that it's good. Also, the second reason for not speaking out, fear. I don't want to get killed. Look what happened to those guys. All right? Look at what is happening to the Jews. I don't want to end up like them, so I'm not going to say anything. See, people are willing to speak out a lot of times when nothing's going to happen to you. It's always easy to speak out and support what's right when that means that it's going to benefit you. It's another thing to speak out for what's right when you know it's going to hurt you or you might lose your life. So to answer the question that a lot of students ask, well, how come there weren't a lot of people that opposed him? Fear of dying, and then also not wanting to lose the good things that you have because of that government. I'll let that government keep on going because look at all the good things that I have. So, lessons to learn from history. Those are things to think about now. Am I in a state of mind that I'll actually give up my life for something that's right? Would I be willing to lose the things that I love to stand up for what's right? You have to think about those things now before you're actually in that situation. All right. And by the way, you can see the stores. I'm going to move out so you can see the picture where they've got the Star of David, and you see Jude there, which is German word for Jew, on the window to mark the shops. Kristallnacht was an event that happened where they went through smashing hundreds of store windows that belonged to Jews and just destroying everything. And it's just a turning point in what was happening to Jews in society in Germany. All right. By the way, I know I'm going fast, so if you have questions, if you're not sure about something, talk to me, okay? So World War II, how's it going to start? So we see Hitler's come to power. Now, by the way, I want you to look at the description box below. Look in the description box below because I'm going to link a couple of news videos. And so while they're in German, what I want you to notice is, what do you see? So the first link is going to be a Hitler Youth rally. So I want you to look at those huge crowds, and I want you to notice that most of those are teenagers, kids and teenagers. So that's a Hitler Youth rally. And then the second video in the description box is going to be a huge army kind of parade with Hitler speaking. So I want you to see the military that he's built up in that second link. And I also want you to see how many people were on his side, how many people he was influencing, okay? So again, note, even though you can't understand what he's saying, look at what are you seeing. And I want you to note the visual, okay? Now, Hitler signed agreements with Italy and Japan. These are going to be the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Japan wants an empire in the Pacific Ocean and East Asia. Italy just wants to join and be part, they kind of have the same fascist views as Germany, and so they want to join in building this fascist empire in Europe, kind of restoring the glory days of the Roman Empire, even though the Roman Empire wasn't fascist, but restoring those those wonderful glory days. In 1938, Hitler took over Austria and Czechoslovakia. Now, Austria speaks German. It wasn't really a huge fight. A little bit more of a fight, but the Germans just overwhelmed Czechoslovakia. Other countries did nothing. So, here's a question I like to ask my students. Well, why? How is it that other countries did nothing? Hitler has already invaded Austria and Czechoslovakia. If we want to add some more detail, remember the area west of the Rhine River was off limits to Germany. He'd already crossed into the Rhineland earlier. Then he took over Austria and Czechoslovakia. So why did they do nothing? Hold on one second. Sorry, we had a little noise in the hallway. Buses are starting to come, so let's continue. So other countries, they did nothing. Well, why? Because a lot of the citizens of those countries and the leaders of those countries remember World War I. It's 1938. That's only 20 years before that, World War I had ended. So all the adults who are in leadership positions, the majority of adults in Europe were alive for World War I, and they remember how devastating it was. So a lot of the adults, a lot of the leaders of the country are very scared to jump into another war that could lead to a second world war. Now, it's easy for us to look back and go, oh, they should have jumped in early, but put yourselves in their position. You just had the most devastating war imaginable. You'd be a little bit hesitant to try to jump in again. So that's what happened. That's why nobody did anything. Germany in 1939, August 1939, they're going to sign a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. Germany and the Soviet Union pretty much go, hey, you know what? Hey, we like you guys, just don't invade us. All right, so the Soviet Union's saying, hey, Germany, you can do whatever you want. Hey, go for it. We don't care what you do in Europe, just don't invade us. We'll let you do whatever you want. You can invade Poland, we're fine. So they signed this agreement, this non-aggression pact. They're not going to fight each other. I shouldn't say this so much, hey, we like each other, but hey, we're good. Just Soviet Union saying, hey, we're good, just don't attack us. Now, September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland with help from the Soviets. Germany is going to invade Poland, so that's the third country that Germany has taken over. At that point, there's no other option. World War II is going to start. The other European countries have to declare war on Germany. So, 2 days later, France and Britain declare war on Germany. And World War II has officially begun. If you look here, here's Germany after Germany's taken over Poland, Austria, and Czechoslovakia. You notice how this gray area, how huge Germany is? The Soviet Union is not coming to the aid of anyone. They've made an agreement with Germany that Germany can do whatever they want as long as they don't invade the Soviet Union. And so now France and Great Britain, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to fight. And so World War II has begun. All right, talk to me if you have any questions. Please look at the modules, because if you look in the module, it'll actually say what your assignment is for today. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, join me in conference and we'll talk about it, okay? And again, read the directions on the module so you know what to do for your assignment. Take care, guys.